Welcome to the Every Mom is an Athlete podcast, where we believe that motherhood is inherently athletic. I see you lifting car seats, chasing toddlers, and carrying groceries one-handed while holding a baby and a coffee. Your daily life is a workout. I'm Dr. Karlie, pregnancy and postpartum expert, sports chiropractor, strength coach, entrepreneur, and mom of three. Here you'll find solo episodes and real conversations with other moms and leading experts, so you can live your strongest, healthiest, most aligned life in motherhood. No matter how long it's been since you've had your baby, whether you're reconnecting with your body, rebuilding your strength, or just figuring out what feels good again, you're in the right place. Hello, strong moms. Welcome to Every Mom is an Athlete. I almost said good morning to you guys. It's morning here, but I don't know when you're listening to this, maybe in the middle of the night feeding a baby. So good morning or good afternoon or good midnight. I don't know. Anyways, we are going to do a short little solo episode today, and I'm hoping it's going to be super helpful for you. These are 4 hacks or things that you can do to improve your outcomes as a new mom. And these are little things that should not add more to your plate. They're just small little tweaks that can help you protect your body and speed up healing. So with that being said, let's get right into this. We're going to start off with one thing that you can start doing during pregnancy. And if you're not pregnant now, if you're like, Karlie, I have a brand new baby, it's not too late. You can still start doing this with a new baby. I just always recommend my patients start it sort of preemptively or preventatively, and that is wrist strengthening. And this is to prevent mommy's thumb. If you've heard about this, that's sort of the common name for it. What happens basically is a combo of things. So you have ligament laxity in your body. Remember that relaxin, that hormone, is not going to just affect your pelvis when it's preparing for birth, but it affects all your joints. And so that means the joints of your feet, your hands, your knees, your shoulders, everything, right? It doesn't just like self-pick joints. Would be nice if it did, I guess, but it doesn't. So what I see in new moms is that they end up holding their new baby so much and often not in a great position, right? And then we end up, some moms co-sleep. You end up with that hand kind of wrapped around the baby to protect them. And it's a lot of stress and strain on your forearms and on the muscles that connect down into your thumb. So what you can do is you can start by strengthening this area during pregnancy. And I have moms that come into my office do this. It's really simple, especially if you already have a fitness routine. You can add it in very easily. And that way you avoid getting to this super painful stage. I think it was my second son. You know, you have too many kids when you just like can't remember which kid what happened with. So it was either my first son or my second son. But obviously I knew about this. I had done some strengthening during my pregnancy. You know, I work with my hands as a chiropractor every day. So, and I CrossFit, like I have pretty good grip, right? So I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be fine. So about, I would say like 6 to 8 weeks into the baby being here and taking care of him and like all that stuff, I stopped doing my strengthening. And I was only doing it, I'm going to tell you guys, by the way, in just a minute, what that strengthening looks like. But I was only doing it what I recommend my patients do, which is like 2 or 3 times a week. It only takes a few minutes, super simple, right? But I was like, oh, I think I'm good now. The baby's, getting bigger. I'm fine. I'm not having any pain. And I kid you not, within 2 weeks, I had pretty severe called tenosynovitis or mommy's thumb. And I was getting this like clicking in my thumb every time I would move it back and forth. It felt like the bones were like rubbing on each other. It's not the bones. What it is it's the tendons are snapping basically. And it's because the muscles are so tight that they're pulling on the tendons that does start to pull on the bone. And so you can get all kinds of problems from this. And I did end up getting a cortisone shot in one of my thumbs, which is one of the common treatments that you can do. But, I'm a chiropractor. I'm a little woo-woo and hippy-dippy. Like, I don't want to get steroids shot up into my body if I don't have to. And I don't want my patients to get steroids shot up in their body if they don't have to. There's for sure a time and a place, but if we can avoid it, that's ideal, right? So I did end up getting a steroid shot. And by the way, it is very effective. I got it in my left hand, which I do see with moms who are right-handed. It ends up being their left hand that's worse or vice versa, right? Just because you're often carrying the baby in that opposite hand so you can do things with your more dominant hand. Anyhow, let's go into what you can do. I love what's called a wrist roller, and you can look these up online. In fact, I'll put a link in the show notes here. So what you're doing is you have both hands straight out in front of you with your palms down, and you have this thing that sort of looks like a rolling pin, and then there's a string and a weight on the bottom. And what you're going to do is you roll it up using your hands, kind of going through a full range of motion, and then you roll it back down. And I'll link a video here too, so you guys can see that. But that's one way to start strengthening both eccentrically and concentrically. So that means like both lengthening the muscle and shortening the muscle, which is like how we really want to build strength, especially when we're talking about tendons. This is a great way to do that. Some other things I have people do are, you can do like rubber band finger exercises. If you've ever seen those, you can just like put a rubber band on the fingers with them all together and then spread them apart, going back and forth. That's one you can do. I've heard people, you can just get a bucket and put rice in it. This is like a little less doable for me because I just have too many kids running around my house. Like they're going to spill a bucket of rice. But if you have your first baby, you could stick your hand in that and you basically would do the same thing as just kind of move the hand, move your fingers, like extend them all out totally and then flex them into a fist and extend all the way out just because it's going to give you that little bit of resistance and that's going to work those muscles in your forearm. What I find in my office is that by the time someone comes to me with this complaint that their thumb is hurting so bad, it's been going on for a long time at a really low level and people just ignore it. And then I find the same thing actually with elbow issues too, like tennis elbow or golfer's elbow because people can put up with it, right? It's not debilitating. And so but what happens is after it's been going on for a long time at this like low level, it's getting worse and worse. You're compensating for it. And then finally it gets to the point where it's like debilitating. And so it's really hard to fix at that point because, it didn't happen overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight. And so what I find is that if you can start some of this, even if you're not having any symptoms, you can avoid it and save yourself a lot of trouble and a lot of pain. So that is my number one hack. Do some wrist and forearm strengthening before baby comes. Or if baby's already here, it's not too late. Even if you're having a little bit of pain in the thumb already, you can still do these. You just want to be very conservative with how long you're doing it. Make sure it's not flaring up the thumb if you're already having some pain. And of course, if you have the ability to get in to see a PT, a sports chiropractor, someone to help you with this, even like a massage therapist that you can just have them focus on your forearms, that's going to be really great. But if that's not a possibility, definitely start with some strengthening ASAP. The second mom hack is how to carry the car seat. Now, if you are a seasoned mom, you probably already know how to do this. But if you're a first-time mom, I see women coming into my office all the time carrying their car seat in the wrong way, basically. So they put a lot more strain on their forearms. They're putting a lot more strain on their pelvis, and they're just really off-centered. So what you can do is think about, okay, baby's on the ground in the car seat. Okay, they're facing you. So what you're going to do is you're going to loop your arm through that car seat handle, and then you hook it underneath. And this way you don't have to actually even hold it. You're like stabilizing it with your forearm. And what this allows you to do is not like drop that hip so that you're like totally off balance and throwing your pelvis off. Because remember, when the baby's little, your body is it's still not stable, right? You still have those hormones going through your body, and it's going to be easier to hurt something, to tweak something. And so it's just really important as much as you can that you're keeping good posture and you're eliminating putting like more weight on one side of your hip at one time. The other thing you want to do is just like when you're putting your baby in the crib, taking your baby out, you want to keep your back nice and flat. You want to keep your core engaged. I always tell people like, if I was going to like punch you right in the gut, like, you can't see me, but you get the idea. That's how you want to be bracing your core. And so you want to be doing the same thing when you're picking up and putting down the car seat. If you're still really newly postpartum, or if you're having any leaking or you feel pressure in your pelvic floor, the other thing you can do is do a breath out, like sort of an aggressive breath, like out as you pick the baby up. And what that's going to do is it's just going to engage the pelvic floor. It's going to lift it a little bit automatically. And so you're not like trying to like, oh, I got to kegel, I got to dip, like do all these things. No, you can just like brace the core, do your breath out and lift, do all that together. And that is also going to be protective of your core, of your pelvic floor, and just trying to keep you in a good posture. My third hack is a little bit of an upgrade to your glute bridges. I see a lot of moms who are newly postpartum doing glute bridges, and I think that's great. I give a lot of the moms in my practice glute bridges as part of one of their first exercises for a variety of reasons. One, you can do it without any equipment at first. Eventually you can get a band, but you can do it with no equipment at first. You can do it on the floor. The baby can be right next to you or even on top of you, so there's really no excuse. It's working your glutes and your low back, which for a variety of reasons is really good for new moms. Remember, the glutes directly attach into the pelvic floor. So when we're talking about healing postpartum, strengthening our pelvic floor, if we miss working on those glutes, we are missing like a huge piece of the puzzle. The other thing is lots of moms have low back pain, and it's for a variety of reasons. One is that you're sitting so much. You're sitting so much with a new baby when you're nursing, and they're sleeping on you and you're nap trapped, and like it's lovely and wonderful. But like I know personally, I'm not a person who sits very much. And so those first, 3 months of postpartum with a brand new baby, I just find that you're sitting so much. So that puts a little bit of strain on your back, especially if we're not in a great position. It can tighten up through the front, through our hip flexors, just because we're in that seated position. And so the glute bridge is a great way to like work on all of that, right? The thing that I think is missing is most women, lots of women, are not thinking about their breathing. They're not thinking about their bracing. They're just focusing on, okay, squeeze my butt to like lift myself up. And we're just missing some opportunities there. So what you can do is you can really focus on the breath piece of the glute bridge to just make it much better. So what you do, you're on your back, your knees are bent, your feet are about hip width apart. And then what you're going to do before you lift up, you're going to take a big breath into your belly, trying to focus on expanding your ribs. Okay. So your chest should not really move that much. Your belly should expand. Think about expanding the ribs like all the way around, like on your sides. And then as you breathe out, sort of aggressively again, breathe out. And as you breathe out, lift your butt up. And what this is going to do, it's reconnecting your diaphragm and your pelvic floor, which is the top and the bottom of your quote unquote core. Okay. And then tying in that breath with engaging your glute muscles. So you're just going to get a lot more bang for your buck if you're thinking about the glute bridge a little bit more as like a full body or a core exercise rather than just like, oh, I got to squeeze my buns to get up there. Like, yes, of course you have to squeeze your buns to get up there, but also think about what you're doing before and then think about as you're actually lifting what you're doing there. My fourth hack is just keeping one of those mini round loop bands with you basically at all times. What I hear from moms is that they can't find the time to get in a workout or get in this rehab that I'm giving them, right? But realistically, you don't need like a little 20-minute session. In fact, for this reason, I made my postpartum plan the way that I did, which is let's say every day you're doing it, it's 4 days a week. There's 4 to 5 exercises. And you can totally do those as like a circuit, right? So it's like, say, 3 sets of 4 to 5 exercises. It's a full body plan, right? So one is going to be more core focus, one's going to be more glute focus, one's going to be upper body, one's going to be mobility, whatever it is. But you could also take one of those exercises and just do it at a time. So let's say, for example, glute bridges. We'll talk about our favorite glute bridge. So let's say you're going to use a band. You're going to have that band with you. Like I literally just put them around my house. I have one in my gym. I have one in my room. I have one in our living room. I have one by our back door because we're like outside playing and like doing exercise and stuff out there a lot too. So you could take that band, and if the exercise is 3 sets of a 30-second glute bridge hold with a band, just do those 3 sets. Just do that. That's not going to take you, that's only a minute and a half of work, right? So let's say with breaks in between, you're talking like 3 minutes that you need. And there's just so much that you can do with those mini bands. So I'm going to get off of my soapbox here in a minute, but when people tell me that they can't find the time, I'm like, gosh, I wish I could just come into your house and like show you that there is really so much time. You just have to think about it more of like building it into what you're already doing. You don't have to think like, oh, I got to go get a sports bra on. I got to like get my weights. I got to have my water. I got to have my music. No. You don't need any of that stuff. You just need to have the exercise and then like put your baby on the floor next to you or let your toddlers run around in the yard or whatever it is, and then just do the thing. And then slowly, if you want, you can build on that, right? But otherwise, you can just be adding them in throughout the day. So, okay, little mini band. Let me give you some other ideas of stuff you could do. Glute bridges, one of my favorites, obviously. I love the band for lateral hip work. So that would be like you put it right above the knees. And then what the band is doing is it's trying to pull your knees together, right? While you're trying to resist that. And so that's going to work those lateral hip muscles, which are huge stabilizers for the pelvis all the time, but especially during postpartum. So we have all kinds of other things we can do. We can do monster walks, which is kind of like lateral walks back and forth with that band above the knee. We can do some step backs where you're engaging sort of that lateral glute as you step back while you're standing. You can do standing clamshells. You can do regular clamshells on the ground. You can do donkey kicks, where you're on all fours. And then again, the band right above the knees, kicking up towards the sky with a bent knee. So many things you can do with that little band if you have it close by. And that's one of the reasons, again, in my postpartum plan, it only takes, I have 4 pieces of equipment. There's the little round band. There's a long, sometimes people call it a pull-up band, like a long, thin red band, a foam roller, and then like one medium-ish weight. So I have most women start off with like a 20-pound kettlebell or dumbbell, just having something. And then you can increase that as you go. But by the time you're done with the 8 weeks, you're like pretty much back to where like you could be doing whatever kind of fitness you want to be doing. All right, so let's get a quick recap. Too long, didn't listen. I mean, hopefully you did listen because you're still here. We have number 1 hack, strengthen your wrists during pregnancy if you can. If you've already had your baby, start wrist strengthening now. Number 2, pick up your car seat properly. Number 3, do some glute bridges, but make sure you're adding in some breath work with it. And number 4, keep that little mini band around you at all times and start doing little exercises here and there to work on restabilizing your hips and your core and getting back to doing the things that you love. I also want to encourage you, don't get overwhelmed. Maybe pick one of these things and make that little change. And then once that feels more natural, then you can start doing some of the other ones. But just pick one and try it today. And if you do try one of them, I would love if you tag me on Instagram or DM me. I just love seeing when moms try these new things and can incorporate them into their lives. And I have just seen it help so many times, decrease pain, help us feel better, stronger, and get back to feeling more like ourselves. And remember, if you want more than just these little hacks, you know where to find me. My postpartum plan and my C-section plan are both designed to be very doable. They're 8 weeks long. Each workout takes about 20 minutes. It's 4 days a week. And it truly is designed to start as soon as you're feeling ready postpartum and then build you back to where you feel strong and confident in your body again. So I'll put that link below, but just know that it's very doable and you can get back to the things that you love. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Every Mom is an Athlete isn't just a podcast. It's a reminder. Motherhood is athletic, and you're still the athlete you've always been. But it's not about going back. It's about moving forward intentionally and powerfully. If this episode resonated with you, I'd so appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend, leave a quick review, or rate the show. It helps more moms to hear what they need to believe, that every mom is an athlete. See you next time.